Welcome to the Doorway to Self podcast, a metaphysical container for all things mental health, all things human, and all things psychic. Because if you're human, you're psychic. Through the power of story, the gift of psychoeducation, and shared research of the human experience, we will delve into all things metaphysics to help bring to light the truth of your being. If you're on the journey home to your golden self, this is the podcast for you. Here we go. This is the Mental Health Revolution with Rachel Leah Gerson of Doorway to Self. Hello and welcome back to the Doorway to Self podcast. I am your host, Rachel Leah Gerson, and it is so wonderful to have you here, whether this is your first time or your fourth time. I am so delighted to have you here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And before we get started today, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I am so entirely grateful to all of you who have listened. I now have tallied over almost 200 downloads at this point on this podcast, which is crazy considering it's only been out for 3 weeks now. So thank you so much for that. It's just remarkable. And thank you to those of you who have left reviews as well on iTunes. If you haven't yet done so, I want to invite you to do that. It is incredibly helpful to continue to have this podcast be listened to by as many people as possible to spread the mental health revolution. So today's topic is kind of a hot topic right now, which is essentially how to protect your energy during this time of corona crisis. So there are several things you can do. I have boiled it down to the 6 best energy practices to have during this time. But I want to speak, before I get to those, a little bit about kind of the different types of energies that are happening at this point, because there is so much going on. I mean, so much, which is why so many of you are feeling so much. And the reason why I created this topic today is because so many of you have been reaching out to me and asking me for help with this, asking me, what do I do in this situation? How do I, protect myself? Or why am I feeling so much? Or, why does everything feel like it's in a whirlwind? Why am I up and down all the time? Why does it seem like where before I might have had a handle on how to protect my energy, I suddenly don't quite have a grasp on how to do that? And the fact of the matter is that we as a human society are experiencing more energetically at this point in time, more connectiveness than we have ever probably experienced as a human race. This is the very first time that every human on the entire globe is on the exact same page. Now, of course, we all have completely different viewpoints about it and different mindsets and different approaches. But the point is that we are all on the same page in terms of this is something huge that is currently occurring to our Earth and our population. And so we're banding together in one way or another. We're all coming together as humans over this. And that activates our connection as human beings. So something really interesting that many of you might not know is that we as humans actually have crystals in our brains. This is scientific fact. We have crystals in our brains called magnetite. And what magnetite does is exactly what it sounds like. It is magnetic. This is a huge way that we form connection across human beings. And what's happening right now is that magnetite is being activated because all of us are experiencing some wavelength of the same thing at the same time. And so all of us are having this huge magnetic response to connect over this thing that's happening to all of us and happening with all of us. And on top of all of that, so many of us are experiencing the reactions of the earth right now. And if you think of it, we as humans are of the earth. We eat the earth, we drink the earth, we are the earth. Our bodies are physical. Our bodies are from the earth. And we have earthly elements in our bodies, like those magnetite crystals in our brains. And so when we are connecting in with everything going on right now, one of the big elements that's happening is the healing of the earth. We have seen so much decrease in pollution, so much increase in animal activity, in tree growth, in plant growth. I can tell you just in my backyard, I have seen more animals and heard more birds chirping than I ever have. And I've been living in the same place for about 4 years now, or 3 years now. So that's saying a lot. The other thing that we have going on is something called mirror neurons. And mirror neurons live in our brain, and they are essentially the way that we are able to perceive other people's communication towards us. Now, mirror neurons are, of course, also the neurons that get activated through when people are clairempathic, or empaths, as it is colloquially known. And we'll go more into that a little bit in this episode, but not too much. Basically, what an empath is somebody who is able to experience the feelings, whether physical or emotional or energetic, of other people, of other animals, of other plants, or of the earth or the collective in general. So it can be any one of those facets, but that's kind of the blanket definition of what an empath is. Okay, so you are taking on other people's things or other animals or whatever's things as your own, feelings as your own. And those mirror neurons are firing like crazy right now, because what's happening is, as our magnetite is getting activated in our brains, it's also activating these neurons, or vice versa, right? Those neurons get activated in our brains as we are watching someone or feeling someone who is experiencing something to do with this virus, whether that is actually having the virus, or fear about the virus, or joy about what the virus is bringing in terms of, what's quite not here yet maybe, or the healing of the earth, etc. We are mirroring those things, and then that's activating the connection within our brains, within those magnetites. So what's happening is that I have actually personally noticed a complete growth in the amount of empath awakenings that are happening right now. And I know that that's kind of a buzzword. Actually, both of them are. Empath and awakening are both huge buzzwords right now. And I don't mean awakening in, this kind of fluffy sense of like, oh my God, I just found Gandhi in my meditation and now I'm awake. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about legitimate, holy cow, I am having a human experience right now that I have never had before, and it is opening my eyes to life in this brand new way. And so, that happens all the time, and it's been happening more and more and more. I'd say specifically over the last probably 5 to 10 years, I've noticed a huge resurgence of that. But with that, every single person I've ever talked to about their awakening experience, it always involves a huge impact with the awakening of psychic ability. And being an empath, or having clairempathy, is a psychic ability. And it's one that is being activated right now more so than I've ever seen before, more so than I wonder if the human race has seen ever before, or maybe just in a very, very long time. And it's happening for a very specific reason. And that is that our earth is completely shifting, and our humanity is being asked to shift completely with it. And because of that, we're being asked to feel more. We're being asked to experience more. We're being asked to do that through connection. The unfortunate part is that no one really tells us the idea that, maybe this emotion isn't mine. And so what's happening in the collective right now is that we're experiencing this huge shift via clear empathy, via the awakening of these neurons, of these magnetites, where we're reflecting each other, and then we're experiencing each other and not knowing that we're experiencing each other. And so what's happening is that there's this massive amount of fear and anxiety and turmoil. And I'm not trying to say that those are invalid emotions to feel. I think those are extremely valid emotions to feel given the circumstance, as long as they are your emotions. And that's wherein the problem lies, is that I'm seeing all of these posts on social media right now, which are great, saying, it's okay to experience fear right now. And that's true. I'm all for that. This is a very scary virus. It's doing scary things currently. But also, if that fear is not yours, it might not necessarily be okay to be experiencing it. And that's okay too. And I think that on some level, because all of us are being so activated right now, whether we are extremely or even just a little bit clear empathic or not, even if we don't necessarily have that ability at this point in time, I think it's still affecting all of us. And there have been several scientific studies done to show that when a huge part of the population is affected by something, it actually has pings that go throughout the world, and people on the other side of the planet experience it. So if we are thinking about this global pandemic that's going on, this global thing that is affecting emotions all over the world, if, there are 5 people in Australia who are feeling really afraid, and that reverberates to, across the world to Canada maybe, and those 5 people in Canada are already feeling fear, but then there's also this reverberation and they're feeling also these people from Australia's fear, then that's going to double the amount of fear that they're feeling too. And so it's important also to look at, okay, am I feeling this? Yes. Okay, I'm feeling fear, or I'm feeling sadness, or I'm feeling grief, or I'm feeling anxiety, or whatever it is, the emotion that you're experiencing. It's important to check in. Okay, am I feeling this? What am I feeling? Am I feeling this? Okay, yes, I am feeling this. Is it mine? And then if you get that it is not yours, it's okay to let it go. It's okay not to feel that way. And that brings me to the next part, is that I feel like I've heard a lot of people or had a lot of people messaging me lately or in sessions or whatever it is, telling me that they feel guilty because they don't feel fearful, or they don't feel anxious, or they're in a really good place right now and they don't know why, and they feel all of this guilt because they feel like they should be feeling those emotions because this is a horrible thing that's happening right now. And what I have to say to you is, you don't have to feel guilty about that. What you're experiencing is what's yet to come, and we'll get into that in a bit, but you're also experiencing probably some relief. I would venture to say that a lot of you who are feeling this joyfulness or this lightness or this excitement about what's going on are not only tapping into the future, but you're also very much in the present with yourself, and you're present in this moment where maybe you're not having to work as many hours as you were before, or maybe you don't have to, run around everywhere like you did before, and you have this moment of pause to be able to just be and just breathe like you haven't been able to in a really long time. And that's so important, because this is also showing us what we have the capability to do. As humans, we have the capability to make this our reality, where we're not hamsters on wheels consistently, where we have the ability to build rest into our lives, where we have the ability to find sovereignty in rest and sovereignty in ourselves and our own time. And we're not consistently needing to give to other people or be there for other people or be, attending to obligation or to a paycheck or to whatever it may be. We don't have to be slaves to life. And that is a huge lesson that coronavirus is bringing in right now. That aside, I do want to go back to what I was saying before about, if you're feeling something, check in with yourself. Is this yours? If it's not yours, it's okay to let it go. If you do get that it is yours, that's okay. But also check in to make sure that it is all yours. And this is a callback to exactly what I was saying before in that example about the people in Australia and the people in Canada. Both of them were equally feeling their own fear, but they were also feeling the reverberation of each other's fear. Okay? There is no reason for you to double down on the amount of fear you're feeling. There is plenty to go around. You don't have to feel somebody else's. It's just not necessary for anyone. Because what's happening is we're winding up creating this tornado of fear where it just continues to go and get bigger and build and get faster and get stronger. And that's not necessary. We don't have to multiply the emotion. It is okay to feel the emotion. It is okay to accept the emotion. It is okay to be with the emotion if it is your emotion. But you don't have, and I really want you to listen to this, you do not have to feel the pain of the world. You do not have to feel the pain of your neighbor. You do not have to feel the pain of your family member, of your dog, of our people across the world. Okay? You don't have to feel that. You don't have to take that on as your own on top of what you're already dealing with or going through if you are experiencing these kind of more challenging and scary emotions. Okay? So I just really wanted to put that out there for you guys because I think it's really important to tap into. So with that, I want to give you these 6 different ways to help your energy and to help you feel at least somewhat stable in these times of great instability. So the first thing on the list is to be logical. So what I mean by that is I've seen 3 reactions to the virus, and the first one I'm going to name is not really prevalent anymore, but the first reaction is to just kind of blow it off and say, oh, social distancing, whatever, blah, 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 and just kind of blow it off. Haven't seen that much around anymore, but it was there before. That's not a logical response, okay? This virus is real. It's very real, and it's very important for us to stay protected from it and and help our neighbors and our loved ones be protected from it. Okay, that is our job. That is our calling right now as human beings. The second response I've seen is that panic that we've talked about a little bit. This fear response of, I'm going to get the virus, and, everywhere you go, it's the virus, the virus, the virus. News is on 24/7, which, by the way, doesn't help because that is stimulating those mirror neurons like crazy. The news is telling you to be afraid all the time, which, by the way, side note, we have these proteins in our brains. This is a major side note. We have these proteins in our brains called CN1 proteins. And what they do is they essentially prune our brains. What I mean by that is that they remove synapses that we are no longer firing. Okay? And they do this at night. They do this when we're sleeping, which is why sleep is so important. So when we go to bed, the thing that we do before bed is reinforced at night, because what these CN1 proteins do is as soon as we fall asleep, they kind of root through our brains and they say, okay, this synapse was fired, this synapse was not fired. And the ones that were fired, they keep them and they make sure that they're reinforced. And so when we're watching, the 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock news at night and then turning it off and going to bed, guess which synapses stay lit? That's right. Everything around the virus, everything around the news, and this is, this goes beyond the virus. If you were doing this before the virus, like, watching anything, and I'm not saying not to stay informed, but I am saying that, maybe just don't watch the news 24/7 or right before you go to bed at night. So that tangent aside, be logical. So the second response is this fear response. And what this fear response is doing is it is actually attaching the energy of the virus, because the energy of this virus is thriving off of fear. It is thriving off of fear. And so when we are going out and we are fearful of everything and looking at everything and implanting fear in those things, it is actually calling the virus to those places and to those people. Okay, I know that sounds a little woo-woo or far off maybe for some of you, but if we think about it, we have these thought forms. We have the ability to create with our minds our reality. And that is what we're doing. When we're walking around afraid all the time of everything and we're in this state of huge panic, we are imprinting that energy on everything. So even if we are not calling the virus to that place, we are imprinting the fear there. And then anybody else who touches that place energetically or physically or whatever, then picks that fear up. So please do your part in this crisis and try and keep a check on making that fear your own. If you're feeling that fear, if you're feeling that panic, you know what? That's fine. That's actually great. You're a human with emotions and you should be experiencing that. But don't leave it places. Ground it out. And that's where our number 2 comes in, but we'll get there. So the third response is to be logical. And this is exactly what I'm saying, is to be logical. What does that mean? That means take precautions, do your social distancing, stay 6 feet apart from each other, maybe wear a mask in public if you have access to one, or gloves, or, whatever. Don't go places unless you just need your necessities or whatever. All of those things are logical, and they don't have to be fear-based. I think a lot of people right now are going about doing those things and they are inserting that fear in there as well, instead of just saying, okay, this is what I have to do. This is a scary time. Yes, I can acknowledge the fear within me, but also this is just the precaution that I need to take right now. And this is my reality. And that's it. That's it. This is just our reality right now. So be logical about it. So that was number 1. Tip 2 is to ground, okay? Grounding has been scientifically proven to help lower anxiety. This is something that is used currently in addiction facilities and rehab centers. It is something that is used in inpatient psychiatric centers to help people with anxiety and depression. Yada, 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 yada. You can read all of the studies about how being on the earth actually helps to ionize our bodies. It raises our pH levels. It helps to draw out toxins from our bodies. I mean, the list goes on. This is a healthy practice to have whether we're in Corona season or not. So it's something to consider. So what is grounding? Grounding is, in a nutshell, and I will do another episode on this eventually, going more in depth into this, but grounding is the ability to connect into your body and connect into the earth. It's the ability to be present with yourself and your surroundings in the physical, okay? So a lot of us, what's happening right now is there are these heightened emotions, heightened energies, and so we're all up in our heads, and we're up, and we're up, and we're up, and we're up, and everything starts spinning and cycling and blah, 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 blah. So we need to breathe, which connecting to your breath is so important right now. So important right now. Because that's the one thing that's being affected the most is our breath with this virus. So you walk outside and you get on the ground with your bare feet or not, or maybe your bare hands, or maybe just feeling the fact that the earth is holding you up right at this moment. maybe going and, if it's appropriate and nobody else is going to hug the same tree and you're not in quarantine, hugging a tree. Okay, this actually does have scientifically proven benefits. It's not just some hippie woo-woo shit. Okay, so, go get outside, touch the ground, and envision all of that anxiety, everything that's going on in the up in your head, bringing it down, grounding it out, as though you are giving direction to an electrical wire through a socket. Imagining your feet as the plug and the earth as the socket, and you are plugging yourself into it and grounding it all out. Okay? So that's tip number 2. And along with that, also, I want to also throw in there as well, part of grounding that can really enhance the grounding practice as well as connecting with all 4 elements. So obviously the earth, connecting with your breath, as I'd already said, maybe doing some breath work or some deep breathing, really noticing the way that it goes into your body and leaves your body, setting the intention for that air, for fresh, clean, healthy air to come in, and letting go of toxic, diseased energy or just toxic energy in general in your breath. Connecting to fire, whether that's through drinking hot liquids, which they say is really good for preventing this virus, or if that means, sitting with a candle and doing some meditation on the candle. Perhaps that means even connecting to your own inner warmth, or sitting in the sunshine, which is so good for you, getting that vitamin D. So connecting with fire, and of course, drinking tons of fluids. Connect with that water. Maybe go stand in the rain if it feels good to you. Maybe go sit by a river. Connect with the water, and water also being emotions. So really allowing yourself to feel what's coming up right now. And then, of course, acknowledging, is this mine? Is this not mine? Yada, yada, yada. Okay? So that's tip number 2, is to ground. Tip number 3 is to know your audience. And what I mean by that is many of us are in quarantine with people who we would rather not be in quarantine with. I'm personally not in this position. I'm very thankful for that, but I know a lot of people who are in that position currently. People who trigger the crap out of you, people who don't understand how energetically sensitive you are and are completely disrespectful of that, people who don't understand boundaries, people who, have the news on all the time, things like that. So I would really encourage you to, as you're around these people who might be a little bit more toxic for you, or maybe just frustrating to be with in this particular situation, be communicative. Ask for what you want and need. And if they don't respect that, find a way to give it to yourself, or find a way to make your own space for you. Okay? This is a time for you to reconnect with yourself. So maybe that means needing to go outside a little bit more. Maybe it means trying to find a space in your dwelling that you can just make yours, whether that's a bedroom that's yours or a little closet or something. You can go hide in your closet. I don't care. The point is to find a space that is yours, that you can go to, that you can retreat to come back to your breath, to ground, to come back to yourself. Which brings us actually to the next point, which is number 4. Tip number 4 is to use this time to rediscover yourself, or to connect with yourself more deeply. So many of us, as we've been working to the grinds and, unable to really have any time for ourselves, this has been a moment of pause. And of course, there are people on the front lines, and I'll get to you in a minute because I know you're listening to this. I can feel it. So if you're not on the front lines right now, if you are able to take this time to chill out, use it to rediscover yourself. Use it to reconnect with who you are. What is your core essence? And this is going to keep you protected against picking up other things that are not yours. If you don't know what I mean by that, go back and listen to the first episode, The Psychic Theory of Mental Illness. You'll learn everything there. But the point is to rediscover yourself or get to know yourself deeper. And when I say get to know yourself deeper, I mean get really intimate with yourself. And I don't mean that necessarily in a sexual way. I mean that more, really dive deep into who you are. What is your being? What are your emotions? What do you feel like? Where did you go wrong in the past that you would like to course correct for the future or for the present? What more do you need to be more you, to really just soak in the goodness of your you-ness? And if you are on the front lines, thank you. Thank you so much for everything you are doing. I know that for the majority of us, while we're, in our resting place or doing work at home or something like that, your life just got crazier. Your life just got more rampant. And so in that space, in the hectic of it all, trying to reconnect yourself to yourself through that. What does it look like to be moving at 60 miles an hour and still be moving as you? What does that mean? What does that look like? Okay. So that's number 4. Number 5 is to clear yourself. So this is what I was talking about before, actually, this idea of if it's not yours, if the feeling is not yours, let it go. Allow it to go back to wherever it came from. And you can say that. You can say exactly that. And that's how you can clear, is you can say, this is not mine, please leave me. Or please go back to where you came from. Or please go into the earth to be grounded, right? You can couple the two. You can couple clearing and grounding very easily, sending whatever is not yours into the earth. You can also clear using any sort of smoke. So be that ethically harvested things, like ethically harvested sage or cedar or lavender or chamomile or anything that is burnable. And not toxic to burn, that are herbs. You know me, I'm all based on the facts, and this is once again, I'm going to use the words, scientifically proven thing, that if we burn these herbs, it actually helps to clear the air molecules around us. It legitimately cleanses our air. It ionizes it. It helps us to breathe more easily. So if you're wanting to clean the air around you, in your home, in your spaces, do that. Okay. Obviously, respecting other people's spaces and rules and whatever. Okay. So that's another way to clear. Of course, drinking tons of water is another way to clear, making sure that you're eating foods that are clean. So no sugar, no additives. You probably know the list. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not going to pretend to be. The point is eating clean, clear, healthy foods, organic, no pesticides, blah, 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 blah. That's also going to help you to be a more clear channel. Last night I was at my grandparents' house for my grandpa's birthday. We were all sitting 6 feet apart, of course, but my grandma made a chocolate cake, and I have not had sugar in about a month at this point. And of course, I felt the need to have a token piece for my grandpa's birthday, and I had a piece, and I completely lost connection with myself last night. It happens, okay? But my point in telling you that is not to tell you that, this girl doesn't have it down, because I knew exactly. I knew exactly when it happened. I was like, whoa, this is not cool. This is not right. Because I can't hear myself. I was on mute about 70%. It took me a lot of effort to find my intuition at that point. But the point is that foods severely affect our ability to connect with ourselves, with the earth. So make sure that you are eating clean foods, because that's going to help you to clear yourself energetically more quickly and easily. And also to know when you are feeling something that's yours and something that's not, because it's just going to give you that insight. Okay, the last thing on the list is to be creative. Use this time to flow. This is very, very clearly energy that has come in. The coronavirus is energy that has come in. And actually, I shouldn't say the virus. The virus was brought by another energy. So the virus is like not the greatest energy, obviously. Obviously, very negative, very low vibe, very energy to this virus. But what brought it in is actually an incredibly high vibration. Because what brought it in is some sort of energy that's trying to help us to shift our world, to shift our consciousness, to shift the way that we are relating to one another, the way that we are treating ourselves, the way that we are treating our earth, the way that we're thinking about our earth, connecting to our earth. The list goes on, okay? And part of what's coming in with that energy is this push to create, this push to start to try new things or to go back to old things that maybe we haven't picked up in a while. Like maybe you used to play the piano and you stopped, or maybe you used to paint and you didn't have time anymore, or maybe you used to write and you just picked up a pen again. These are all things that are going to help you to move through this time, because being creative and unleashing that creative energy and creating with that creative energy, even if it's just for you, even if it's not something you're about to put up on Facebook or YouTube or show the world, right? Even if this is something just for you that no one else experiences, you are actually moving energy through you. Creative energy is one of the highest vibrations that we can connect to. And when we are moving that creative energy through us, it's also taking all of that energy that is more high vibration through us. It's helping to root out those low frequency things. So the more creative that you can be, the more that you are actually creating some sort of mechanism in your body that is allowing you to filter this negative energy out of you, this diseased energy out of you. Of course, it's incredibly important to use this time to rest. And so finding this balance between creative projects that really energize you and also creative projects that allow you to relax while doing them. Maybe drawing is really relaxing for you, or maybe writing is really relaxing for you, something that's allowing you to just rest and be and flow and sit in this time when we can flow, when we can move where energy wants us to move, listening to your body. And I know I said I was going to give you 6 tips, but I'm going to give you a 7th one. And the 7th one is to listen to your body. Just listen to what you need. Do you need to rest right now? Do you need to eat right now? Do you need to go for a run right now? Which, of course, is also a really great thing. Actually, that should be on the list too. Go work out. Take care of your body, right? But do you need, what do you need? Do you need to connect with old friends from, I don't know, elementary school? Do you need to have a phone conversation right now? Do you need to watch TV for 6 hours? Do you need to work from home and do that right now? What do you need to do right now? And listening to that flow, listening to your body. And I want to throw a spotlight too on the idea of movement here and the idea of sound here. If your body needs to move, or if you need to make sound, make space for that, because this is how we are going to rid ourselves of the energies that are not serving us. This is how we are going to be able to come back to ourselves. You want to clear your energy? Move it out. Literally, wiggle, shake, dance, contort yourself in one way or another, obviously, as long as you're being safe about it, but move. Listen to how your body needs to move. Use sound. Use your sound to vibrate the energy out. Growl, scream, make noise, sing, yell. What do you need to do? Laugh. Listen to your body, listen to the flow, and go with that. And I honestly even want to make that a step 8 right there, because that right there is the most crucial thing that we can do to protect our energy during this disease, is to listen to how the energy wants to move out of our body and move it. Because what we're learning right now as a human race is that energy flows with the path of least resistance. And with every single one of us going into isolation or some form of social distancing at this point, with so many places shutting down, with so many people out of work, this is teaching us that we have to go with the flow. And the energy is moving, and the energy is moving with the path of least resistance. So we have a choice now. We can either human up and follow this path. We can human up and be a part of this new world. We can human up and follow the flow, or we can choose to resist it. So I'm going to leave that choice up to you, obviously. But I want to encourage you to find the flow. Find the flow within and find the flow without, and see where the river takes you. So with that, I'm going to close out this episode. I want to remind you before we wrap up of what those 6 things are. So 1 is be logical. 2, ground, and part of that is connecting with the elements. 3, know your audience. Know who you're living with, who you're around, and how to adapt. 4 is using this time to rediscover yourself or to know yourself more deeply. 5 is to clear. 6 is to be creative. And our added 7th that popped in through channeling at the end of this episode is to listen to the flow and listen to your body. I truly hope that this has been helpful for you. I know so many of you are struggling out there, and my heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to all of you in the front lines, all of you who have been experiencing so much mass hysteria at this time, all of you who have been experiencing grief or the loss of a loved one. My heart truly, truly goes out to you. I really, really hope that this episode has helped you in some way, shape, or form. If you haven't already, I did publish on YouTube a free sound healing for the integration of this new earth energy into our global atmosphere, into our humanity. So if you want to go to the Doorway to Self YouTube channel, you can just plug in Doorway to Self in the search bar on YouTube. That video will pop up as the last one, or one of the last ones in the queue. Or like the most recent is what I'm trying to say. So if you want to access that, please by all means do. Listen to it as many times as you want. I've already gotten so much incredible feedback from it, so I'm just really, really glad that I could provide that support. The other thing I wanted to offer as well is at this point in time, I have created a Facebook group called the Door Openers. And Door Openers is for very sensitive, energetically sensitive people who are having a tough time right now and needing a support group. I did cap it at 30 people. And right now there are, I believe, 5 spaces or 6 spaces left. So if that's something that you want to join, it is free for the month of April, and we meet every Thursday night as well at 8 p.m. Eastern on Zoom to do a group check-in and just a support group over video chat. So if that's something you're interested in, check out the page. It's facebook.com/groups/thedooropeners, and I can link that in the show notes as well for your convenience. And also, lastly, Doorway to Mental Health tickets are on sale. I actually decided to cut the event into one day, so it's only going to be Saturday's events, which I'm really, really thrilled about, actually. I think it's going to give a lot of insight and a lot of reprieve. So if you want to check that out, it's Saturday, May 2nd. It will be hosted on Zoom online, and because I did have to move it online and because it is now going to be one day instead of the weekend, I did also include a discount. So if that is something that you're interested in, it is now at a very discounted price. You can sign up for one workshop or two workshops or the full day. It is completely up to you. Any way it is, I really hope to see you there. You can find more information about that and also get tickets at doorwaytoself.com. If you're not already, follow me on social media at Doorway to Self on Facebook and Instagram, and also my personal journey at rachel.leah.gerson. And of course, it's National Poetry Month, so I am doing 30 for 30 as I have for the last 3 years or 4 years, I can't remember. And so I'm posting a poem a day. So anyways, I'd love to see you on any of those platforms. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Our next Q&A will be in May. And if you missed the last one, the replay will be up on YouTube very shortly. So thank you again for tuning in today. I truly want to wish you the best of ease coming into this new paradigm that we're in. And I really hope this episode supported you in doing that. I'm sending so much love, and I look forward to tuning in with you next Thursday morning. Thank you so much for tuning into the Doorway to Self podcast, for helping to spread psychic education, and for being a part of the mental health revolution. I hope you have received exactly what you needed today for your personal growth, understanding, and healing. For more information on upcoming workshops, retreats, and online events, please go to doorwaytoself.com. Thank you, and have a beautiful rest of your day.